Jolt is a movie that is out now on Amazon Prime. It is definitely not a spin-off of Crank, despite what the title and the description might lead you to believe. Jolt stars Kate Beckinsale as this bouncer, although the movie doesn't really tell you that she's a bouncer, but she is this bouncer who is dealing with anger management issues. She has dealt with them for her whole life. The movie gives like a scientific term for it. I forget what it actually is, but in order to control that anger management problem, she has like this vest that when she pushes a button on a remote, it sends like electric shockwaves through her body, and that's how she's able to control her rage. And just turns out that the dude she just went on a date with ends up dead. So now she is going to go after the people that killed him and not use that thing to control her rage so that she can actually use her rage to kill these people. This sounds like the biggest ripoff of Crank, right? Because Crank, at least in the first one, his heart got poisoned, so Jason Statham had to keep moving in order to keep his blood flowing, and if he stopped, he was going to die. And in Crank 2, his heart gets replaced with an electric ticker, and if that ticker runs out of energy, it's going to stop and he's gonna die. I don't know. Crank 2 was really stupid. The premise of this movie sounds like it has the adrenaline of Crank 2, but it actually isn't as adrenaline fueled as either of the Crank movies. Surprisingly, I didn't hate this movie. I thought I was going to go into this movie hating it, saying that it was the biggest Crank ripoff, but there was a difference here between this and Crank. Looking at it, Kate Beckinsale is very energetic in this movie. She adds a lot to the role. She's come a long way from playing Celine in Underworld. I think that she's the only one who could really express the rage that her character is feeling with this electric vest sending electric shockwaves into her body to control her rage. She's the perfect action heroine ingredient for this movie. She's the perfect person to kick people's asses in this movie. And I'll say it was nice to see the dude who played Walter Frey / Filch in Harry Potter back in a movie. He's set up as the main villain. His motivation is, "You murdered my cat. I want to see some punishment!" The movie's pacing isn't as frenetic and energetic as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be like Crank, this non-stop action movie that just kept moving. Something is constantly happening. I mean, something is constantly happening in the movie, but I just felt as if the action was going to be non-stop, just in your face, just frenetic, energetic action that really went over the top in some parts, and some parts it does because it's weird. The way that this movie is edited is very weird. It'll show you what Kate Beckinsale's character is thinking. I forget her name. What is it? Lindy? It'll show you what Lindy is thinking, and it will show you what she wants to actually do to these people, but then she'll hit that electric shock button, and she won't do it because she's like, nope, gotta contain the rage. So I like the fact that, like, she has this anger management problem, but she knows at the same time she has to contain it. That actually added a bit of depth to the movie, a bit of depth to the character. I didn't expect anything for character development in this movie. I mean, everybody else, not really, but her, I think that added a little bit of depth to the character because she knew when too far was too far. And just watching her kick ass later on in the movie, especially the second half of the movie, was really entertaining, and that added energy and freneticism to the movie. I liked everybody in this movie, even Jai Courtney. Man, I've been so critical on Jai Courtney. I mean, towards the end, his performance starts to really sink, but I mean, in the first half, in his first few scenes of the movie, he's actually pretty good. And I'm like, wow, Jai Courtney is actually starting to come a long way. We used to criticize this guy, and then he was actually the best part of, other than Margot Robbie and Will Smith, he was the best part of David Ayer's really shitty Suicide Squad movie. And then he was pretty good in Honest Thief, and he's pretty good here. So, I mean, I think we've come a long way from saying, yeah, he's the worst Kyle Reese ever put on screen. Don't ever put that dude in a Terminator movie ever again. There's quite a bit of subtle humor in here that I actually laughed at. It's just the insults Kate Beckinsale throws at people, and like just the moments where she gets mad, she's just like, fuck! Like, those were the moments where I was just dying. You're expecting them? I don't know what makes it funny for me. So the fact that she's throwing insults at people, or is it the fact that she's just this rage-induced beast that is trying to contain it when she can't? She's just like, well, fuck this shit! The movie does become a bit predictable as you get towards the second half. There's some real inconsistencies in terms of logic when it comes to this movie and how people get from place to place. Like, Kate Beckinsale and Bobby Cannavale, they're talking in a car and there's an explosion right in front of their eyes. The next scene, Kate Beckinsale is climbing up a goddamn skyscraper like it's nothing. Like she's in between like the two, I don't know what you want to call them, like the structure of the building, like in between there. Like she's just climbing up it like it's not. I'm like, how did you? What? How? She's bringing into like precincts and stuff and stealing evidence. How do the cops not know any of this? This is a movie where you definitely have to leave logic at the door and just, I guess, go along with what the movie's trying to do. It's one of those movies where you just have to suspend all disbelief, you know? But as I said, it does become a bit predictable towards the end. I saw the plot twist coming from a mile away. There was a point in the movie where I said, I bet such and such is going to show up. That person shows up, ends up being the main villain of the entire operation. It's been Agatha all along. It's like, how did I sniff this from a mile away? I'm like one of those like drug sniffing dogs. Yeah, I smell this. It's coming from a mile away. Call the cops right now. Tell them, yeah, this person did it. Person is not who they say they are, so. There's also this really weird opening monologue to open the movie. It's a weird voiceover, and it's overplayed for clips that show Kate Beckinsale's character when she's little. It felt very out of place to me. There, person who did the voiceover was very robotic. It felt like I was watching a documentary about somebody with an anger management issue, and right then and there, that was the moment where I was like, this is a bad omen for the movie. And the movie, of course, sequel baits because they set up something at the end for Kate Beckinsale's character and somebody else shows up. And I said, enough. Why does Hollywood love the sequel bait? Because who knows if we're going to get a sequel? Who knows what the viewership on this movie is even going to be? But with all of those problems, like I said, you gotta suspend your disbelief with this movie. You will probably have some fun with it. I thought I was gonna totally trash this movie, especially after that opening voiceover. The bad omen quickly went out the door, and I loved watching Kate Beckinsale kick ass. But if you can get past the logical inconsistencies this movie presents and a lot of the storytelling traps that it falls into in the second half, I think you're gonna have a good time. And I totally thought that I was going to roast this movie to eternity, but I will say you will at least enjoy Jolt with half a bucket of popcorn. That's a higher rating than I thought I was going to give the movie. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's still not a good movie, don't get me wrong, but I really thought that this was going to be like a stale popcorn or popcorn hell type of movie. And it ended up being somewhere right in the middle. So I guess that's a big plus. Have you guys seen Jolt on Amazon Prime? If you have, what did you think about it? Drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies. So.